Hello, hey, hi everybody. Social media family, being of whatsoever races, but then not necessarily being of whatever walks of life, factions of society, or lifestyle preferences. I mean, well, please excuse me. Not that I mean the sound. Did I say sound? The seem is what I meant to say. Correction. I gotta have quite a bit of a compulsive disorder at the moment, but then I do want to look presentable, regardless of this rather late hour for that being of my person, having taken the liberties to try to think of it with mind's intentions to compose this present social media broadcast or video. However, said, yes, regardless of how, in other words, it is for that being of some or such a time that is way past my established bedtime hour of 11 p.m. For where that being the or person of I myself am presently located at, and do excuse or pardon me or forgive my person for possibly butchering the English language as of this present given moment in time, and as we have it of the American dialect at this late hour. Then, before I lose my train of thought, you know, and as I think of it with that in my mind's intentions to try to backtrack here with reasons or purposes being in order so I can go on with the following to continue from where and when that my person at last left off so I can finish up as in complete a former previous prior line of thought in the same sense of word. And as I think to do so now, and whereas that being in my established bedtime hour is supposed to be for that of 11 p.m., where that being the person of I myself am at, from the Midwest of the USA. And so I say, and I state for the record, regardless of any proverbial neighbors from hell, being of the dime a dozen public nuisances of problem neighbors or characters, being among the likes of themselves, attempting to throw a monkey wrench in that program, and as they would all too often make like from, the midnight cowboy to the spook that sits by the door. But then let me go back even further to still all the same, complete another former previous or prior line of thought so far as the basic intro as an introduction is concerned, you know. And what as I was saying in more words or less how that, excuse me again. Yes, how that although, you know, from my social no rather correction, my bad. Although my social media family of any subscribers could possibly be uh whatsoever or whatever races, and likewise any visitors to that being of my own immediate personal channel, social media channel, chat room and or comment section. But then, unlike how any visitors could possibly be whatever walks of life, factions of society, or lifestyle preferences, or hopefully my social media family of any subscribers would not be for that last mention, or as I was saying in more words or less. Then how are you all doing? Well, hopefully everyone is doing at least okay, if not better yet to be said, to be feeling all right, or if not best of all to be said, to be feeling blessed and stressed, more blessed and stressed, or too blessed to possibly become or be stressed. You and yours, your family and friends, and hopefully me and mine, likewise as well, are all the same. Or hopefully any of you all, being a person among yourselves, would feel much better than what that being of my person had felt like last. I mean, don't get me wrong, and not to mean to sound or seem like as if I could possibly be contradicting myself, being because I don't feel like my general health is up to par, even so, as of the present moment in time. But hopefully, I feel a little bit better than what I have felt like last. You know. But then, so much for that conversation. Moving right along, and on to other things. As our kissing cousins across the great waters of the Atlantic would say, being the Brits, as in British or English, who are citizens of the supposed so-called mother country that has supposedly given birth to that being of our own supposed so-called democratic republic or democracy, being of which is continuing to, come short of its responsibilities or obligations, I ever said, when it comes to that of the rather controversial subject matter of stemming the tide or to nip it in the bud, so far as that being the social injustice of civil and or human rights violation offenses come from the likes of lousy, racist, redneck, dirty cops who continue to pop their six shooters in the backs of ethnic minority persons, and particularly and or especially when it comes to black persons among the many different ethnic minorities. But then that is a rather totally different subject matter than what I wish to discuss as of the present given on time for this particular present social media broadcast, video, or whatever anyone wants to make of it. So, if I have not done that being of a social media broadcast or video concerning those matters in particular, then hopefully I will get around to it in that the future. You know, and as you know, this year is about to go out and the new year is about to come in. You know, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to each and every one of you. You know, but then this particular social media broadcast or video is having to do with dealing with, involving, regarding, or making reference to, or whatever I've said. That being the vaccine. You know, but first of all, let me get the basic introduction or preliminaries out the way before I were to get to discussing some such subject matter as that being, and regardless of whether or not that my person were to speak upon anything else from there, but then more than likely and more often than not, at this rather late hour, I won't, being because I have yet to get my beauty rest for this relative cousin of Frankenstein. Not that I mean to, you know, downgrade myself so much, but then I have yet to get dental work, get replacements for the teeth, which are missing for both rows of teeth in my mouth. TMI, too much information, I suppose. So far as that particular general physical health issue. But getting back to some of such other, moving right along. Yeah. So I think I basically covered the initial or basic intro introduction, and so therefore, without any further ado, permit me the liberty to get to speaking upon the present, particular subject matter of controversy surrounding that the vaccine. Now, as you know, we all have become subjected to experiencing that being this global pandemic, being of which is just a repeat of one that had happened something like a century ago. You know, but then it is supposed to be much more volatile, they say, and then there's a variant of it that has come on the scene. You know, that is even more supposed to be even more deadly than the original one. And now I'm not discouraging anybody from taking that the vaccine that supposedly is of a nature and or content that combats it or diffuses that the possible potential devastating power that is affiliated associated with that being of the global pandemic. But then neither nor am I encouraging anybody to take that vaccine, being because I have scruples about it myself, you know, for the simple reason. So I go into the explanation thereof to simply say, or to give you all the Cliff Notes version of what I think about the vaccine. And like I said before, so I say again, I'm not discouraging anybody from taking it, but then neither nor am I encouraging anybody to take it, but rather I'm just speaking from my own personal views and opinions. And as I was about to say, or do so now, but any time the USDA, you know, was that the United States Department of Agriculture, and that being of the pharmaceutical industry and the medical community, goes about producing that of a medicine within a relatively short time frame period, whereas they have not given it the proper time limit, being of which it usually takes years before a medicine is from there, you know, processed for mass, processed or manufactured, however say, for mass distribution and or for consumption. You know, I mean, a whole lot of tests have to be done upon it, and furthermore, before it is to be given to humans, whereas they are supposed to have some kind of human guinea pig, to speak figuratively, but some test monkeys or animals to experiment on before they were to, you know, go about a trial uses of it upon any humans or our own species. And such is not the case, you know. And guess who the human guinea pig projects are really? Basically, mainly or mostly, being a person's for our own species as humans. And so when that of a medicine is processed within a relatively short time frame period that goes against the grain, the recommended time limit for it to be tested before it were to be, you know, produced, manufactured, and distributed to humans. Whereas here it is, it only took from a year to a year and a half for this particular medicine. And whereas they're saying in the news media, no, this medicine has been been gone through the necessary process of being tested for years. We didn't have this out here years ago, so that just tells me right there that somebody's telling the fib. You know, somebody's lying. You know, and it ain't me. You know, and back in times past, I would say that vaccine is poison, and I still do think that it's poison. You know, from what I've heard about it, but like I said before, so I say again, I'm not discouraging anybody from taking it, but then neither am I encouraging anybody to take it. You know, I'm just giving my own personal views and opinions. You know, to each his own. You know, and hopefully no doctor or nurse at any hospital for a medical establishment's premises or property facility, be it public or private, had given it to me. You know, likewise without my knowledge as well as without my permission or without my consent. You know, because you never know, you just never know. You know, so this is what this here particular present social media broadcast is about, or this video regarding making reference to that vaccine. You know what I'm saying? And regardless of whether or not the social media broadcast or video that I had meant to composed much earlier, like days or so, at least a couple few days or nights ago. But then I lost the frequency transmission. I sound like Ellen Foot, like somebody had sabotaged it. You don't know who could have done it. But anyway, though, now getting back to some of such others being the original subject matter or topic of discussion for a given argument with the pros and cons there to be affiliated, associated with, and representing thereof. Like I said, I'm not discouraging anybody from taking the vaccine. Neither am I encouraging anyone to do so. I'm just giving my own personal views and or opinions about it. And I, for one, I'm not in favor of it or do not support it. Hopefully nobody has given it to me. You know, without my knowledge as well as without my permission and without my consent. Until I have more informative data, you know, because I have heard more informative data that is, you know, opposing the vaccine compared to that being of which is supporting it. So until I hear more informative educational data, that it will not harm me in some kind of way, you know, then I don't know whether or not a doctor, nurse is giving it to me anyway, without my knowledge, without my permission, or without my consent. Likewise, a doctor or a nurse here or there because I had gotten injections at two different hospitals. They're claiming that they didn't give me that vaccine. Hopefully they did. But I can't remember. I practically, possibly, is that what I mean? Say likewise. Can't remember the last time I felt so much up under the weather. And like it's like a lingering feeling, and this is most unusual for me myself personally. I don't know about anybody else. I'm just looking toward my window. Certain neighbors who would compliment that being the title or name of proverbial neighbors from hell. Well, actually, the diamond does part of Lucifer problem neighbors and speak upon some such other matters now they come out because this one particular window is like, well, okay, it's next to the fire escape compared to my washroom window. It's right in front of the fire escape, you know. And whereas at one time or another, I noticed that my washroom window was open all night, some time back, and hopefully nobody has crept in here and done something to me to make me come suspicious that that person could possibly be partly the root cause for my person feeling up under the weather. But now I just double check or triple check at that my washroom window because I don't leave my washroom window, let's say open, rather unlocked, whereas it may well have been open all night. I don't do that. And knowing what times we're living in and speaking upon these matters now that it comes back because there used to be a time whereas, and not to mean to stray from the original topic of discussion, just being because a neighbor from hell, a problem neighbor, wants to attempt to throw a monkey wrench in this here particular present social media broadcast, because stupid does as stupid feels, and there's a whole lot more stupid and crazy, and not to mention likewise possibly that more creepy persons in the world. Yeah. Anyway, though, as I was saying, I don't leave my window unlocked all night. But that would be open all night with times that we're living in. Whereas back in the day, well, I know down south is not up north. People, persons of different races used to be able to, well, even during, is that what I'm saying, for certain areas, whereas it could be possibly considered as clan country. No, I don't think so for those areas. But for certain areas where people know one another and the different races were quite liberal with socializing with one another. Person could leave their windows open all night. That is what I mean. Say they could leave their windows unlocked as well as the doors open all night, whereas the man would be open and nobody would bother them, any of their fellow neighbors, you know, and they would be watching out for one another if some out of towners should show up. But nowadays, you can't even leave any windows or doors unlocked down south. How much less up north? Speaking upon those matters now that come to mind. But then getting back to some of such other, I was so rudely interrupted, and whereas a proverbial neighbor from hell had got me to speak upon those matters, probably knew some problem neighbor, a stupid dumb cough or idiot and on sickle or cycle. Yeah, so as I was saying about the vaccine, you know, to each his own, I'm not taking it, and hopefully nobody else is giving it to me until I get much more information, education about it, because I would consider that like playing Russian roulette. If I were to take medicine into my system, into my physical body, just being because the medical community is saying this and that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there are times you must trust doctors and nurses, but so far as this vaccine, that's a different story. And like, whereas this one news journalist or news commentator, news correspondent, news reporter was like saying Dr. Fauci is no more than another Dr. Mengele, the Nazi doctor during World War II upon the continent of Europe within Berlin, Germany, experimenting on one different patients that he was forced his experiments upon, and then some. I mean, that's how I feel about it, that vaccine, you know, for that matter about Dr. Fauci. But then some would say, man, you can't believe everything you hear on social media. I mean, they're not doctors. You know what I'm saying? I mean, are they? Are they licensed physicians? Well then, but have not licensed certain doctors and nurses, have not they at one time or another have gone about sabotaging people's, a person's general physical health, regardless of race and walk of life, faction of society, lifestyle preference, gender, and age. And case in point, the Tuskegee experiment was when doctors down south had experimented on poor black persons, injecting them with a sexual disease and not treating them for a number of years. And that is why a lot of blacks, they are skeptical about that vaccine, knowing that, as it was in the days of old, so it could become or be now, whereas history could repeat itself. So just being because a doctor, a nurse be like saying, "Oh, this is good for you. Go ahead." You can't trust any and every doctor or nurse. I mean, compared to other ones who are really trying to, you know, go about necessary business at hand to, you know, fulfill their responsibilities, their obligations, not only to their different patients of outpatients and inpatients, but to, uphold their own Hippocratic oath. But some of them do the total opposite. Because there's a big market in human body parts, and insurance companies or insurance agents, they profit off of, you know, mentioning to individual persons about their life insurance policies. You never know whether or not there could be a real life conspiracy where they could do some underhanded stuff to try to make like some kind of mafia hitman just so they could collect upon you once you were to become one of the deceased. So the same could be said of doctors and nurses. I mean, after all, we did have, or maybe we still do, if if he's still present, a Dr. Kevorkian was coming off like a Dr. Mengele, and this character was supposed to be going about with assisted suicide method. This just get me thinking how, as a matter of fact, Sweden is supposed to have officially recognized assisted suicide. Ain't that something? Psh, that's ridiculous. But anyway, getting back to the original topic of the discussion. So this is what my views and opinions are about in regard to the vaccine. I don't trust it. And we're living in a supposed so-called democratic republic or democracy of the USA, and nobody should be mandated to take that vaccine if one doesn't want to, don't want to do just that. Because as I'm hearing it, like the vaccine breaks down the immune system of the human body. And it wouldn't be the first time that doctors and nurses have sabotaged people's or person's general physical health for money over over bodies, or profits over preservation of a person's human body. You know, yeah, that's bad. So that's pretty much all I have to say in that regard. Give you a general idea of what I feel about that vaccine. Like I said, I'm not discouraging anybody from taking it, but neither am I encouraging anybody to take it. So with that having been said, let me wrap things up. As you all know, I would usually give the basic intro as an introduction, go through the preliminaries as that being, and then from there I would speak upon a subject matter, a topic of discussion, or give my own personal views and opinions upon a given argument, with that being the pros and cons, or the many different views and opinions to be affiliated, associated with, and representing that of the same question. And the former previous prime mentioned, and regardless of whether I would speak upon one or a couple few or four more, depending upon how I could possibly feel at some given moment in time. And then last but not least, I would give the conclusion of the matter. And as I would usually do, likewise, is what I was saying. And by saying so, I paraphrase, if not quote exactly. If you haven't gotten Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I would hope that you would think to do so now while the blood is still running warm in your veins, by recognizing or realizing what he himself had done or did upon the cross of Calvary on the hill of Golgotha, suffering at the hands of some such Roman soldiers upon orders of their superiors, religious and otherwise, Pharisees, Sadducees, and etc., and centurions and Caesars. But then, nevertheless, he went to that cross of Calvary to become the perfect sacrifice, the only sacrifice for you as well as for me, so that if any of us, being of whatsoever race and whatever walks of life, factions of society, lifestyle preferences, being of the old and young alike of both two sexual genders of males and females, representing not only the human species, but then nevertheless the global community, and of the old and young alike, is what I meant to say. My bad, Chris P. Continue to regulate my mind, compared out of Prince Black. For this post 911 era of a new millennium apocalyptic day and age, where the doomsday clock is now at a couple few minutes to midnight, depending on how formerly previous prior to then was according to midnight, for these by biblical prophetic time, where to profess some of such faith in him, from there we become and be blessed in one regard or another, in more ways than one. First and foremost, with this salvation being, which is the only means that any of us can or could possibly enter into the kingdom of heaven, or to be considered as citizens thereof. And second of all, with his deliverance while we're still here upon the planet Earth in this world, according to the worldly system thing. But first, you have got to get his salvation. Otherwise, you have nothing coming so far as blessing is concerned. If you leave this world without it, then your final destination would be the lake of fire, damn hell, to be assembled with the rest of the unsaved and undelivered, lost, damn human souls of unbelievers and unbelievers, to be tortured and terrorized by the devil and his demons forever for all eternity, compared to how we as believers in God, as in Christians, aka Protestants, not Catholics, not supposed to so-called Jehovah's Witnesses, not supposed to so-called Latter-day Saints or any others of those pagan, heathen, false religions, where we as believers in God will be across that great divide that separates heaven from hell, in the company of like-minded believers in God as ourselves, among those to be possibly considered, among ourselves to be possibly considered, and in the company of God and his angels otherwise. You all take care and be safe. Be blessed, not stressed. Peace and love and joy, happiness, and I'll holler at you all later. We out. Peace.